Hey, so welcome to the second episode of Beanbag Rebels. We're gonna take a look into the innovation landscape to actually kind of see what that looks like and why things are the way they are. So, you bear with me. Hopefully, that will come clearer as we go through this. So, we're just gonna pick up from where we were last time, where I kind of share with you the simple definition of an innovative product being something that is both new and useful to a group of people, to somebody, right? So, what usually happens when something like this is like maybe I have a good idea, call it a spark, a star, like a blue star, and for the sake of simplicity, maybe we think about this idea as I wanna, or you, if you're into bakery, you wanna kind of bring to the world, to the population, the new kind of muffin. You want to try and see if we can put a different spin to a muffin. For example, maybe we want to kind of start putting more whey protein into the muffin as an ingredient so that people who are very fitness oriented and want to do some muscle mass gain, they would be interested in having more muffin instead of staying away from them. So maybe we try out different kind of combination of whey protein, 10%, 5%, 20%, we get some feedback, maybe we get some interaction with the local gym, and then we arrive at a formulation that kind of works, right? And then we get some feedback that, wow, it's great that I'm building my muscles, but it's kind of, the taste kind of sucks, you know? So maybe we want to try and say, hey, in Thailand, maybe you want to try and add like a durian flavor to it. And you very quickly find out that it doesn't really work. Come back to the drawing board and say, okay, look, durian flavor doesn't really work. So how about lemon or mango flavor? And then we try again, to maybe spin a little bit and say a little sour, a little sweet. And we find out that maybe the sweet doesn't really work because people get the impression that sweet are associated with high calories. So we come back and said, okay, let's focus now on the sour, and got a good mix. And then you get some more feedback from the potential customers at the gym, and then they say that maybe we can look at packaging things differently because the muffin as it is right now with the little paper is not really portable. So we do some more iteration and then we arrive at the final product. I don't know what it looks like now, but when you have an idea that's truly new to the world, we don't really know what's going to happen. We try a couple of things like the red circle that maybe the durian doesn't work. We try a couple of things, but we get feedback and we quickly iterate until we come to a final product. And here's the thing, right? Once we're pretty sure we have a fairly good idea, we've been running these experiments for some time now, a week, a month, 6 months, we're fairly confident now that we've nailed it. We've nailed it. This is the formula for success, straight from the muffin to the new muffin, from the left hand side to the right hand side, from the blue star to the green star. And we now want to scale up. We have a business idea, and now we know it works to some extent, and we want to scale up. If you live in Bangkok, like I do in Thailand, you want to scale up to other provinces. You want to expand to other countries, right? I'm going to pause a little bit here. At some point in any corporation, any startup, somebody or group of people came up with some great ideas. They experimented. Whether you are a company that's 10 years old, 100 years old, 50 years old, at some point somebody came up with that great idea. And now, if you're in a big corporation, that idea has been refined, has been streamlined, has been optimized in the same way that you would in this muffin. Now that you've nailed down the component, you've nailed down the taste, you've nailed down the customer group, we've nailed down the flavor. Now, what we typically end up doing is, hey, look, we want to be able to make sure that we replicate all these processes. We want to make sure the taste is right, the composition is right, the target market is right. And we want to be able to replicate because, you know, when we talk about scaling, Bangkok is not enough. We want to go all over the country. We want to be able to sell this in different provinces. We want to launch this all over the countries. And hey, why do you want to stop there? You now want to be able to replicate this across the world. This is the same thing that's happened to every product. Anything that's basically right now, it starts somewhere, experiments, feedback, and then it becomes an optimized process. Now, this is basically, I'm just highlighting two different pieces. If you see the middle piece is where there's still a lot of exploration, and then On the right hand side, there's a piece where we now know what works and we're now trying to optimize for efficiency, for focus. The other thing is also is the uncertainty piece, right? On the left hand side, there's a lot more uncertainty. Where you move towards the right, you pretty much start, nail down the formulation, and now you focus on efficiency and replication consistency. One way that I found really useful of framing this is from a problem statement and an answer statement. And again, this is my own interpretation. Could be right, it could be wrong, and I hope it makes sense. If it doesn't, by all means, let me know. Put in your comment or reach out to me, and we can have a good talk. Or maybe it could be a topic of our next discussion. But focusing again on the uncertainty, one of the things is if you look at the problem statement, as you move from the left hand side to the right hand side, where the problem statement is not well defined and the answer is not yet well defined, to the right, where the problem statement is very well defined and the answer is well defined already. Just going back to the muffin, right? The problem, it happens many times. I thought maybe the problem statement could be people wanted to eat healthy food, wanted to have more proteins in their food for healthcare. It was taste. It was the portability. These are different problem statements, right? And as we go through the process, it becomes more well defined, and then the solutions for each of these problems become more well defined as well. And in some ways, if you look at this, and I've mapped this out to the blue boxes and the green boxes, the green blocks, the blue box is primarily focused on exploration, a test, and learning and de-risking, right? Whereas you move on to the right-hand side, things are more well-defined. You're now focusing on, hey, I now have the problem statement really well-defined. I have the solution pretty much well-defined for a different specific customer group, and now I want to focus on consistency, efficiency, and marketing. And we're going to come back to this again in the future episode, because I'm sure that's a topic of discussion for many, many of us. The next slide, I think, is going to be pretty controversial. But if you map this, if you have a well-defined problem statement with well-defined answers, is basically this classical project management and execution framework that we all know and love, the waterfall methodology, right? You have a bunch of requirements, you have a bunch of things that need to be done, and you know how to do them. Of course, taken to granted the way that the world works today, there are very few things that you can define for certainty, but as much as can be. For the left-hand side, I kind of thought I'm going to map over this thing that I think a lot of people, some of us would have seen. There's iteration of combination of design thinking, lean startup, and agile. The thing is, once you, again, using the muffin example, the problem statement is not always clear. And over the next couple of episodes, I'll dive a little deeper into this and what that means. Forming the problem statement, I believe, is one of the key thing. And, I believe it was, there's a quote, and I'm going to get this wrong, so I'll add this, maybe confirm in the next episode. There was a quote, I believe, that says that AI is great. It can find all kinds of answers in the world today, but what AI can't do yet is pose powerful and meaningful question. So the problem statement is not always obvious. Just mapping this over, how do we bring ourselves from uncertainty on the left hand side to the right hand side? And just to close this out, I'm going to come back and recap this again. On any innovation ideas, once you have a group that forms the idea and a group that actually executes and streamline the idea, the left and the right, the green and the blue, these are typically very different kind of people who are very good at doing this. So take, for example, in my experience, I worked in corporate for 15 to 16 years. If we hire people to follow processes, if we hire people who are very good at following processes, I'm really bad at following processes, they will not be so good at asking questions, because what we pay them, we hire them, we interview them, so that you've got 20 steps that's going to throw out the perfect muffin. You don't want them to be questioning all these kind of things just yet. So my point is, in any kind of corporation, our founders did it, come up with new ideas, so that we, as a company or startup that's fairly mature, are making a lot of capital, generating a lot of value today. How do we keep this cycle going? Both sides are needed. We need people, we need teams to actually generate new ideas, so that eventually it will generate revenues for us in the future. So we're going to be talking more of this, but I just thought this was a good laying ground towards the different kind of mindset, different kind of teams that's needed in any kind of innovation, both the in corporate innovation or any kind of innovation teams. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and more to come. Hopefully, we'll hear some disagreement, some agreement, and let me know. Thanks. Bye bye.